us that he was so important to your life and
Oh,
going to
yes.
Officer Canada School. So.
Such honor,
Yeah.
such bravery.
Yeah. Now, did he just survive the war?
Yes, he survived.
Oh, you told me. Yeah, he was a businessman.
And he became an attaché in
right.
Colombia,
Right.
the nation.
Now, on
And
the troop
then
transport.
later, the mayor of Meridian.
Right, right. Yes, of course. So on the troop transport going back, you're probably zigzagging. I mean, were you frightened of submarines and
No,
U-boats
I was
and all
more
that?
afraid of you stealing my fifth of bourbon.
Oh, right.
And I
bet you
everywhere
were.
I went, that bourbon went with me. Everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there was no privacy, I'm sure.
Sir?
No privacy on that
Oh,
boat.
Lord, have mercy. No. And
So how did you hear about D-Day then? Was it announced
well,
on the
oh
ship?
yes, it was on the ship's announcement system.
Yeah. Did everybody go a big cheer or did people
Oh yes,
understand?
of course, you know, and at the same time, let's face it, dear friend, you're on a ship going toward the battle line.
Right.
You're on a troop ship going just few knots per hour,
Right.
and you don't know whether you're going to be a victim or not. As a vis-a-vis, as I went over first time with my bomb group
Right.
on the Queen Mary,
Right.
15,000 was the figure of people
Yeah.
in 5 days travel. And lo and behold, on my return to the States to go to Officers Canada School in '43,
Right.
I was on the Queen Elizabeth.
Oh.
And
They were
she-
sister ships. They were the same
The-
design.
oh yes, and the passengers on this occasion, in the majority, were wives and children of British citizens who were fighting the war, and these people, God bless them, were going to Canada for the duration of the war. And they had applied for, and then blah, 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 so on.
Right.
And so they were going to Canada to live for the duration.
Let me jump around in time a little bit. So because we talked about D-Day, and that's fascinating that you were on the troop transport going over. And then what about V-Day, Victory Day for the Germans in '45? Where were you then, and what was that like?
I was there in England
Mm-hmm.
in my old bomb group, and I wish I could have found it, because somewhere in my home I have some literature that is probably one of the most thrilling pieces of military action I've ever heard of.
Tell me about it. What do you mean?
And I wanted you to ask me that.
Well, I want to hear the story.
This is fascinating. It's true,
Uh-huh.
documented, and in fact, there is a man, his widow's daughter, living in Collierville, who knows that it happened because it happened to her father. They were shot down at B-24 Liberator.
Mm-hmm.
His pilot was a Memphis boy. He was a Memphis boy. It just happened to be. They were shot down and made prisoners in a German prisoner of war camp, Stalag Luft 1, I think it was, up in the northeast part of Germany,
Mm-hmm.
some 5,000. But what they did with the British leadership, now this is one of the reasons why my heart pounds
Yeah.
so lovingly. is that through the British leadership, they were able, through the German Prisoners of War Corps, to develop a means of getting radio equipment
Into the Stalag?
into the camp
Uh-huh.
that the British could operate covertly, of course.
Yeah.
Listen to the radio, BBC,
Yeah.
and then have a typewriter with paper and ink and write letters to the 5,000 of these prisoners of what's going on.
So I'm not sure I follow. So they smuggled radio into the camp, and so they could listen, and then so then they would tell all the 5,000 prisoners what was going on.
That's right.
Oh, I see.
And the Germans didn't know it.
Didn't know it.
That is, those of authority.
Right, right,
I'll have to qualify that
right.
because I have no idea
Right, right.
if there were any exception. Except the German prisoners of war military that helped recruit this equipment. And they brought it over from America through the postal system, whatever,
Right.
and they secured it, and they then gave it to the British prisoners of war.
Really? That's fascinating.
Oh yes, and it's
Why would they do that, do you
documented.
think?
Huh?
Why would they do that?
Well, they were a little arm twisting. They
I
had
see.
to be.
Right, right.
Because what they did, the maneuvering Germans were Germans who had relatives in the U.S.
Oh, I see. Right.
and they could through there could twist arms.
Uh-huh.
And if you don't
That's
know
interesting.
what that's about, then you're not sitting here. You're not
I hear
his
you.
son.
So,
You-
so this is how. So this relates to where you were doing in V-Day, Victory Day. In what way? So I want to kind of, because I'm always interested to know about that. So where were you when Victory for over the Germans?
I was sitting in England,
Right.
and thankful to God I'm still alive, because on the day that I'm speaking of,
Yeah.
on a mission to Harburg, Germany, submarine den, the air was just rougher than all get out. And was not unusual at all for, in a formation, say of 5 aircraft,
Right.
one of those aircraft would have a hard time in staying in its position.
Because I've heard the B-24 was notoriously hard to fly.
Well, it was not seaworthy
Yeah.
as the B-17, because the Bombay doors on the 24 would just come off upon hitting ground or
Right.
surface. But on this particular day, the pilot that I was flying with was having trouble flying here, so he fell out.
And you were a gunner.
I was a gunner,
Mm-hmm.
waist gunner on
Waist
that
gunner.
day. And he fell out to find a place further back, which was customary.
Yeah. Right. And you didn't have fighter escort or anything, or did you?
Well, that particular day, no, not on that day. This is up in the northern part of Germany, where the sea came in
Right.
at Harburg,
Right.
because we were going after the submarine dens,
Oh, right. Yeah.
and we had the ordnance that was just designed for that.
Yeah.
to go through that concrete.
Yeah, because they
Without-
were in big bunkers.
Oh,
Yeah, they were
Lord
tucked
of
in those
mercy, yes. Whew. And so we fell out. Well, someone would fall in, possibly.
Right.
And we went through an iteration, I think 3 times of that, but 2 at least, memory.
Uh-huh.
And so here we were, and we fell out, and we were proceeding on, not to the target yet, to drop bombs. And we looked and saw a B-24 over here, and it was twisting and turning and on fire. Heart-rending.
Oh, I bet.
Well, we said, oh, okay. Well, the people who lost that airplane thought that was ours.
Oh, right.
And when they went home and we didn't go home, yes, that was them.
Yeah.
And we were reported shot down by the time we finally did get home. Short of fuel and had to refuel at a British air base to get home. So, but that is how the torment of all this cycling going
right.
on. And
So what was it like to be up in the B-24 flying to or coming back from a bombing raid? Because I would imagine, were you attacked by the Luftwaffe or?
well, sometimes yes, sometimes
what was that
not.
like? And so you were
Well,
you were
when,
a gunner, and
Well,
can you recall a particular instance?
No, I don't recall a specific instance, because any of the German fighters on the few missions that I did fly were up here and out of the way. They were after something other than this element. And it's just like when you go into your grocery store and you go looking for bananas.
Yeah. So they weren't after the B-24s.
Well, for this particular
Oh, I see.
time.
Right.
And you'll have to appreciate that they did not wish to expose themselves to collateral defense.
Right. The gunners.
The fighters, I'm speaking of,
Oh,
the
the
German fighters. And it's a real circus.
I bet.
And it's all right there in front of you.
In color.
You know, yeah. And it's right there in front of you. And it's not back there in that briefing room where you were told about this or that and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
It's like the mission that my bomb group, along with 4 others, on Sunday the 1st of August of 1943, coming out of North Africa to go over to Romania and fly at 50 feet above ground.
And that was your flight? You were on that?
No, Lord mercy, I wouldn't have any hair. These airplanes were going after a refinery in Romania.
Yeah.
And there were 5 Congressional Medal of Honors given on that day.
Wow. 5. That's crazy.
3 were posthumous.
Right. Wow. This is fascinating. So we're running a little bit short on time, and I appreciate this. I could do this all day long, but
Well,
let me ask you a couple more questions, if you would. So you were in the service for how many years total? Was it
26.
26. And
When I put it together.
yeah, wow, 26. And so we've talked a little bit about Korea, and I'd like to, because you were in both. So how did the Korean War and those days kind of compare to World War II because it was a different time, it was a different era. Well, actually, it wasn't that long after World War II.
No, it wasn't. There were two different wars,
Right.
strategically as well as tactically, I suppose. But in this case, I'm not dropping bombs.
Right.
I'm electronic warfare.
So you're
I'm
doing jamming.
intercepting their radar
Right.
as it's being used in defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm locating that radar because that's been targeted to me. If I see a frequency and the parameters as such, then I know that's one of mine, and I do my best to locate it on a map and then come back to Japan, and the next day, if there is a day, to take it down to Tokyo, to Far East Air Force headquarters, to report so-and-so radar at so-and-so place. And then for the Far East Air Force targeting people to target that radar.
Right.
And
'Cause
fortunately,
I'm an old sonar guy. I did sonar in the Navy, so
Yes.
I know kind of what you're talking about there
Mhm.
a little bit. I mean, it's sonar and radar, but it's the same principles.
yes. And so we, in that assignment, we went all the way from Taiwan all the way up to the North Pole, and going across the North Pole and try to find where land is as opposed to ice
Yeah.
is interesting.
And so, how long were you involved in the Korean conflict or Korean War?
Well, the two tours.
2 tours. Each one was a year, or how'd they do that then? How long
Well,
was the tour?
about 30 missions.
30 missions.
The first was only 15 because we were the very first to go, and my crew.
Right.
The Flying 8 Balls was what it was in World War II, and here it was something else.
Can't
But-
say not.
Yes, and we only flew 15, but we flew 2 or 3 months here in the United States, getting acquainted with this new airplane, new model, and all of this as a training.
Right.
And it was, I'm speaking from flying from Puerto Rico.
Right.
And that was an experience because most of us lived off of the base and lived in little towns
Yeah.
and communities.
I got to spend quite a bit of time in Puerto Rico when I was in the service. It's
Well,
nice
we
area.
lived in Arecibo,
Mm-hmm.
and we were treated so courteously. And one of the interesting things about people,
Yeah.
people is what the military really teaches. We lived on this little street off of the highway that leads to the hospital. And it's
Civilian
nice.
hospital or military hospital?
Civilian hospital
Mhm.
in Arecibo.
Right.
Maybe 5, 6 homes on the side. Now remember though that I'm talking about the boss of the family is the former flight nurse,
Oh, right. Right.
and she's hygiene.
Right.
Well, we moved in there, and of course everyone else was sleeping under mosquito nets.
Yeah.
She said, we're gonna put up wire. So we put up the wire for the fence, for the windows and the doors.
Oh, to keep the mosquitoes out of the
to
house.
keep them out of the house.
Did that work?
But yeah, did it? Zoom! All of a sudden, the whole neighborhood's
She's on a
copying
train.
those Yanks, those continental Americans.
She sounds like quite a woman. What was her name? Your wife's name?
Smith,
What was her first name?
Lurleen,
Laura Lean.
and she was first-class family. The twins, by the way.
She had a twin sister?
She had a twin brother,
A twin brother.
and born on the 4th of July.
No kidding. And you said you were married to her 46 years?
Yes, before she died
Mm-hmm.
of a kidney
Mm-hmm.
loss. But Hattiesburg family
Right.
was where her mother was from. Her father was from up in Holly Springs.
And she didn't mind you going back into the military when you decided to re-enlist?
I didn't have any chance. I was recalled to active duty, and she and I were dating.
Oh, okay. So she
Yeah,
didn't have a
no.
choice in it.
No.
That's interesting.
And but here is the. Oh, this is fun. You'll get the kick out of this. My wife,
Uh-huh.
a twin. All right.
Yep.
Her other was a brother, and he was born first. 4th of July.
Nice.
Twins, a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
So what do you name them? The boy is for his father and the girl is for her mother.
Laura Lean.
Lurleen Puller Smith.
Oh, excellent.
And now let me ask you
I
something.
have a twin brother, by the way.
You do?
I do.
Poor boy.
He's better looking than I am, though.
That's kind of,
It's not hard to do. I
Yeah,
know. I
yeah.
know.
But let me. I'm trying to get to something.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you watch Fox News?
Absolutely. Hmm.
Do you know of a Shephard Smith?
I know Shepherd Smith. Yeah.
I'm his uncle
No kidding.
through that connection.
Really. That's interesting.
But he doesn't know how to spell Shepherd any more than the others. Shepard.
And it's E-R-D.
There's not but one way to spell Shepherd. Shepard. 23rd Psalm. And that's my code, my name on the internet.
Oh,
Is-
interesting.
Picks up on that.
Cool. Well, listen, we're running out of a little bit of time, but so to kind of wrap it up, I'm wondering, since you have so much world experience, and what would you say? What would you like to leave to the generation coming up, like my son Mitch, who's 19, or others like him? The kind of, what did you learn, and how did you grow in the military, and what kind of life lessons do you think you've learned through all of that world experience, life experience?
Honor.
Tell me about that. What do you mean by honor? What does honor mean to you?
Don't tell a lie. Whatever happens,
Yeah.
don't tell a lie.
Yeah.
I've violated it a million times. But I believe that if you want me to respect you, you have to be given something from me. And the best thing I can do is honor.
Right.
And I came close a number of years ago here in Collierville of running for mayor.
I think you would have been a great mayor.
I know I would.
I'd have given you my
There's
vote.
no doubt about it.
And so honor it came into that play. It came into that decision in
It's
what way?
in everything.
Right.
It's in driving.
Yeah.
You spoke about when you were driving today about the traffic. And it was because you were respecting honor.
Right. And so did you saw a lot of honor and honorable people in the military and otherwise? I mean,
I saw
I know
honor.
I did.
I saw honor.
Right.
Um,
Tommy, let me ask you, did the military teach you honor or reinforce your sense of honor? Or did you have that as a young man before you went in from your parents?
in my family, it was honor.
Right.
It was an older brother and two sisters and me. We teased each other. Oh, let me tell you, for instance, we went to church on Sunday, as always, come home, and this is in the days of wood-burning stoves.
Mm-hmm.
We sat down at mother's table,
Right.
including maternal grandfather, daddy, mother, the children, and we teased. And one of the girls, the older, was teasing my brother, and he had it up to here. Now this is the family.
Yeah.
So he comes over to me and says, "Come here." And so I take one side of the chair.
Can I ask you, how old do you think you are at this point?
Sir?
How old do you think you are when this happened?
Oh, maybe 10, 12.
Mm-hmm.
And so we pick up sister. Mother runs and opens the front door. And we take sister out the door, down the driveway, out to the street, and leave her.
And how old would she have been then?
Well, she's 6, 7 years older than I.
Right. She kicking and screaming the whole way?
Oh, Lord of mercy. No dirty words.
Right. Yeah.
But it was a happy family.
Right.
And so I go back to mom and dad.
Teaching honor and those principles.
Always.
Right.
Always honor. Not that I haven't dishonored.
Sure. Everybody's human.
Everyone's human, and but in Mama's world, you can make a mistake, but you can also say, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
You can also ask for forgiveness. And as I said possibly earlier, today is our son's 67th birthday.
You didn't mention that. Congratulations.
Well, he's
to him,
67 years ago.
Because you said you had 2 daughters and a son.
Yes, and my oldest son is from another marriage,
Right.
and he's 67 today.
Wow.
And I can still see coming home from St. Joseph Hospital in Memphis in an ambulance for mother and grandmother, while I drove sister-in-law and self home.
67 years ago.
67 years plus a few days.
Sure, sure.
But there is one thing that I am so proud of that son, is his honor.
Excellent. And what's his name, sir?
Haynes,
Haynes.
Thomas Haynes.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, his grandfather, maternal grandfather, opened up the town theater in Collierville, Tennessee
Oh.
in 1939, where the museum is today, the Bible Museum.
Yeah, right there on the
That
corner.
used to be a town
I heard
theater.
that. Right.
And here is a case of honor. I'm glad it came up. My father-in-law, a born Catholic,
Uh-huh.
married a born Catholic girl. They moved to Collierville in 1939 and were the first Catholics.
Yeah, that probably wasn't that well received then.
Well, cats and dogs and blacks and Hispanics and then Catholics.
Right, right. So you spoke a lot about honor, and I'm glad you did. I mean, that resonates with me, too. And so what, do you have an occasion to talk to your children about your experiences in World War II, in Korea?
I do.
And what,
I
to
do.
just to close out the interview, what do you try to leave with them and when you're talking about your experiences?
Don't embarrass Jesus.
Tell me about that. What does that mean?
That says don't embarrass him and say to him, I want you to help me ask God for forgiveness. Don't embarrass him with that workload. He has a lot of other problems.
Right.
Don't give him another one.
Well,
Be as truthful as you can possibly be.
right.
I married two wonderful people, just absolutely gorgeous. The two daughters from my second wife.
What's your second wife's name?
Oh, I didn't tell you.
No.
Well, the first one.
It was Lurleen.
No, that was the second one.
Oh, that's the second one.
Yes, the first one was oh my goodness, Beulah,
Beulah. Okay.
and what a lovely woman. Ah,
Yeah.
here she was, a widow with two young girls, and a Catholic in Collierville
Right.
in 1940. And of all the things of all the world, here came a Jew.
Are you a Jew?
No,
Are you Jewish? Oh no. Okay.
no, Shephard, but
Okay.
that's not bad.
No.
I wouldn't mind being.
No, I didn't know that.
No,
I was wondering if that was part of your life story.
No, but here my mother-in-law
Mm-hmm.
to be,
The Catholic woman.
Catholic woman.
Right.
Here she was with two teenage children, girls, in a town not friendly to Catholics.
Right.
And here came a Jew from Memphis on the phone and said to Beulah, Beulah, you keep that show going. I'm going to help you. Tom, as it was,
And you're talking about the movie theater.
movie theater,
Right.
keep it going. I'll help you. I'll do all the booking for you that Tom did because he worked for Columbia Motion Pictures at that time as a
Right.
traveling
Right.
type. I'll do the booking for you. And whenever a movie runs on Main Street in Memphis, you'll be running it in Collierville.
Nice.
And people in Collierville and Fayette County and so forth won't have to drive all the way into Memphis to see movie A, movie B, so forth.
Right.
And I won't charge you a penny for the booking. You'll have to, of course, pay the rental,
Right.
the leasing of the film. That's you.
Well, that's nice. Well, that's a great story to
Well,
end,
let me
but-
tell you one more part of it.
Okay.
Many years later, yours truly is on the planning commission when the son of this man wanted to open up a theater in Collierville. And he is applying to the planning commission.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm a member.
Right. Right. So it completed the circle there.
So, of course, yes. I asked the chairman for a recess. I went out to the lobby, and he and I embraced.
Nice.
He didn't know why,
And, yeah.
but I told him quickly
Good.
that his father had befriended my father-in-law way back, and he knew the story.
Yeah.
So what goes around can come around.
Right. That's all part of honor, right? Everybody was
honor.
honored. So you recognized that and returned the honor.
It's a favor.
Well, sir,
And,
this has been.
and you look at the, excuse me, just
No.
one more.
You got my attention.
You look at the name of his theater down here on the square in Collierville, Town. That was the name of the Catholic had a theater on the square in Collierville, was Town Theater.
Wow.
It's the Town Theater. It's the Town Theater.
I like that. That's a nice story.
Isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
It says that we can.
Yeah.
We can.
Well, we need to wrap up, and this has
All right.
been an honor and a privilege
Oh.
for me to talk to you today. I loved your stories, and especially your commitment to family and country and honor. So
it's all
it's been a
together.
pleasure. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your time.
Thank you for your coming.